fam.news.
She's the mom of the fam. You know her as Adrienne Woods, and today she's on the show with some big news. Plus, let's find out from her what's the strangest thing about working with me. She may have multiple answers. Who knows? Stick around and find out because the Fam podcast starts right now. Imagine if you could handle calls, text, reviews, and payments all from one powerful tool. Well, with Podium, you can. Podium's new Tech Pack phone system is a complete customer connection hub. Know who's calling before you pick up, see past interactions, and even turn calls into text messages automatically. Less time on the phone, more time closing deals. That's the Podium difference. Get a demo today at podium.com/spam. Podium, one tool, every connection.
Welcome to the Fam Podcast with Mark Kinsley. This is where the best in the betting business get even better.
All right, fam, welcome to the pod. We're doing it. What's up, Adrienne? Yo, Adrienne.
Yo, Adrienne. That's how we have to begin every single episode.
That's right. Well, your dad actually named you after Rocky's girlfriend in the movie.
Well, didn't she become his wife? And I would say my mom had a hand in that too. But yes, my name came from the movie Rocky because my parents loved that movie in the 80s. And I remember when they first let me watch it, I was like 12. And of course, people in the 80s looked different than they look now. And I remember asking her, like, hey, does this Adrienne ever get pretty? And my mom's like, oh, yeah, don't worry. Like, she gets prettier. And then, because, I didn't think she was super pretty and I didn't want to be named after somebody that I didn't think was pretty. And come to find, like, 3/4 of the way through the movie, I'm like, when does she get prettier? And my mom's like, oh, she did. She did. And I missed it. So I wasn't such a huge fan of the Adrienne in that movie. But yes, that is the origins of my name.
Well, it all worked out for you. You're a lovely human being, so I guess it all fell into line. Even if the Rocky character she didn't have that like magical transformation moment that like Disney princesses have when they like get the stepsister and like fix her up and make her better.
Yes, and here's the thing: by 80s standards, she was probably very beautiful. By 2003, maybe not so much.
Yeah, I mean, we all look back at past photos though, and we're like, yes. Man, that's horrific. Now, was that a choice of haircut and clothing style, or was I physically altered at that point? But I've seen many of those photos myself. I'm like, I'm not sure what was happening. I just went out to the garage earlier, and it's so cold here right now because it's been down below zero. You and I both live in Northwest Arkansas in Bentonville, and I went out to the garage a little bit ago. I hadn't been to the garage. The only time I was there was a couple of days ago to take the batteries out of the e-bike so they didn't get screwed up. And fixtures had fallen off my ceiling that were like holding up shop utility lights, like the plastic pieces that go around the lights. So stuff's falling everywhere.
Yes, indeed. It has been, I think it was -7 yesterday morning when I woke up. So with a real feel of -7. That just gives you a taste of what Northwest Arkansas has been dealing with to those of you not in Arkansas.
I feel like, when I look at what's happening with the weather, like we're at the very trough of like the jet stream that's like pulling air out of the Arctic cap. And it's like, we're right at the very bottom of it. So it's just like dumping all the snow on us.
Yes. Although we were supposed to get like 12 inches and we only got 6. So I'm thankful for that. Maybe and then Tuesday, it's supposed to be 65 degrees here.
65. There you go. I always tell people, if you don't like the weather here in Arkansas, just wait till tomorrow.
Yes.
It's going to change.
100%.
Spring's going to come early. Well, spring is a season of change, and I think that hopefully spring is going to come early. And we are also in a season of change for you, my friend. And I'm going to let you take it away because people know you as the mom of the fam. They've seen you at Dream Camp. They've spent time with you at Dream Camp and at Sleep Summit and at Vegas Market when we've been kicking around the hallways doing fam cams. And we've been doing this like 5.5, 6 years.
5.5. So So for those that don't know our backstory, I'll kind of give them just a little bit of a teaser. So I owned a fitness studio. Like I have the most random background and skill set. If you ever want to hear it, just like let me know because it's wild. But I knew.
You can't breeze over that. No, you can't breeze over that. Give us a little taste of your background.
Okay, so in a bright nutshell, I went to law school to be an attorney, and I was an attorney for like I guess I practiced for almost 10 years. During that time, I ended up buying into a marketing company with a friend. while we owned that marketing company, we did marketing for a fitness studio, bought the fitness studio. And while we owned the fitness studio is how I met Mark and Tara. So that's the quick like backstory of how we got to there. Meanwhile, I was doing some social media marketing. Meanwhile, I was also still practicing law and doing a bunch of other things. But when Tara and I got to know each other, so Tara was a dynamite spin instructor who worked for me. And then I got to know Mark just through that. And Mark, I've been like a connector is what I tell people. Like Mark's like, hey, do you know somebody that does XYZ house cleaning? Yes, here's a person. I've lived in Northwest Arkansas practically my whole life. Y'all been here, what, 10 years? Less than?
Shy of that, but yeah, a good chunk of 10.
Okay. But I just know a lot of people having grown up here. And so I was just a connector for Mark. And he reached out to me one day and he was like, hey, do you know anybody? He's like, I do a podcast that could do social media, just like a couple posts a week. And do you remember the text that I sent you with the little like hand emoji raise? I was like, oh, I could do that. I would do that.
Like, I want that. Like,
I will do that. I don't want to connect
like,
you with
okay,
somebody.
you're hired?
I did know some people that could do that, but my son, who's almost 5, was like 4 weeks old at the time when he asked me for that. And so Mark and I met and we ended up, he was like, yeah, I just need someone to basically do like 5 posts a week or something like that. And what you want, you're like, and it would take like 15 hours a week. And I was like, I will do that for you, but it will take me 5 or something to that effect. I was very bold and brazen, which I am not a bold and brazen person, but I remember being very proud of myself as I left that room being like, I just told him what was up. So anyway, so that was where we started. And that was back in like 2020 in the middle of the pandemic.
And we've been at it ever since. I mean, the podcast now has 600 episodes and you produce the podcast as well. Like, so all the mixing and editing and sponsors and all the great stuff that goes into it. And then all the social media clips that get carved out and people probably see them on LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook or Instagram. Adrienne's taking care of all that. And then on top of that, just all kinds of random stuff that's fam related. And then we started doing events together. We started doing Dream Camp and Sleep Summit. And we've traveled all over and just bring the fam energy wherever we can.
Yeah, no, it's been what?
Did you hear one of your children scream, by the way, just now?
I mean, I heard something, but it wasn't like a scream that needs attention. So it's fine.
This is why you're the mom of the fam, because like there are different types of screams and you know how to decipher what's a blood curdling like wound scream versus like, I'm just screaming because I'm a kid.
Yes, that is them in the background. And trust me, that was not something that needs my attention. So we're good to keep going. But yes, that's true. And so along this time that we've been doing all this, I have still always been practicing law because that's what I went to school for. And that's sort of, if you want to call it, my first love. And I've always just enjoyed doing stuff like that. And y'all have let me dabble in that over the last couple of years with just trademarks and contracts and just anything else like that. So I have been able to satiate that legal desire that I have in me. But the time has come, I guess, if I'm going to tell everybody, for me to start doing that more, not full time, but from the time that I have available to start focusing on that more. And so I am going to be working at a firm here locally, kind of helping their litigation division, which means that I have to give up the fam. I know.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid crocodile tears.
Sure.
Because, well, I mean, it's sad. Tara and I, as we had a chance to talk about it, we're like, this is we're a fam. Like we really are. It is kind of funny and strange that I'm the dad of the fam and you're the mom of the fam, but Tara is the
she's
fun
a cool aunt
of the fam.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, what are we going to do without mom? I mean, things are bound to go awry.
Things will be even better because I think a lot of times when you take out the person that you think does everything, you realize how much they don't actually do, and you will make things a lot better. It's a funny story. The other day, Mark sent me a podcast. He's like, hey, I just went ahead and edited all of this for you, so it should be good to go. And I logged in and I'm like, great. And it comes to find, I was like, oh, well, there's no like intro and there's no like background music and there's no like background rap. But I was like, thank you so much for all that you did. Because it was very helpful. It just didn't have all the parts, but you'll find all the parts because you haven't had to worry about those for 4 years.
I punched all the buttons up through episode 150, I think. And ever since then, you've taken care of it. So
really?
Yeah, that's a lot of episodes. Yeah. And I was so proud of myself too, because I was in the virtual studio, and they've got an editing program in there, and I'm like putting this in and putting that in, and I was like trying to help out. And I was like, yeah, I think I did it. I think I did the whole thing.
I
And
nailed
think
it.
I texted you behind the scenes. This is what happens when the boss starts punching buttons.
So, little known fact about Mark is he loves new programs. Like, that's one of the things, if you don't know. And in fact, in our team meetings, Tara and I have been big on like, hey, could our goal for like the year be we don't introduce new programs? So in that vein, Mark was trying to condense our programs down that we have. We use a different editing software than we use to film. And he's like, maybe we could film and edit in the same program. Lofty goal. And I give you big props for that. Unfortunately, I don't know that the recording can do everything that we need it to do. So we'll see.
It's so close. And by the way, if anybody's a super geek about this stuff or like creates content, we use riverside.fm.
Yes.
And it's a great virtual studio. That's what we're on right now. Like you can record from 2 different places, and it records natively to your machine, and then it uploads. So you don't have like latency and fuzzy effects and all that fun stuff. And yes, I am a super fan of programs. I like programs. I think programs are fun. I like to explore programs. I like to implement new programs if I can. And I'm such a kind of semi-tech junkie that my fam, I was like, no, we're not doing new programs anymore. And Tara and Adrienne just kind of laid down the law. And I want to ask you publicly, when was the last time that I brought in a new program?
Oh, it's been like, it's been before the holidays, which is saying something. Because there was a time where it was like every 2 months it was like, hey, there's this new program. Hey, there's this new program. But I feel like you've streamlined a lot. We use Notion now for a lot of things. We used, what was the one we were using before? Airtable. And we used that pretty consistently. And then you moved us over. There was one in between Airtable and Notion. I don't remember now what it was, but we didn't last that one long. But Notion was great. I will say Traction. I know you've learned that for some people in the fam. I think you said it was maybe the Utz that introduced you to Traction. Maybe it wasn't them, or maybe you mentioned that they did use it. Anyway, that's been phenomenal for our team. Like I said, Riverside's been great. Descript is our editing platform, which I think Riverside actually owns Descript. So, they sync up pretty well. But no, you haven't added any new programs in a while. I've been pretty impressed.
I have kept my hands tied behind my back in terms of adding new programs. Hey, let's talk about Traction though, because it is funny. Like so many people out here, like so many people listening right now, they run a business and oftentimes it's with family members.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we started with Traction, it's for anybody that doesn't know, it's a book by Gino Wickman called Traction. And the idea is you need to have an operating system for running your business. Just like you have an operating system called Mac OS or Windows. They're 2 different operating systems. They're different ways to run a computer, but they both work, and for some people, Mac OS works better. For some people, Windows works better. And so there are a lot of different systems that you can create to run your business, but ultimately they're way better than DOS with like the green zeros and ones. And so Traction is a system, and kind of the core of it is you have a weekly Traction meeting where you go over everything, and that's the space and the place to discuss your issues, get your to-do list in order, and then make sure you're following and achieving your company and individual rocks, like your goals. And so we've carved out this space, and it's been good, right? It's been really good.
It honestly, I think that has done more in the last year to transform us than any of the previous years, just in trying to get stuff done. And we're just much more organized. We always joke about like, it's the place for you to be able to come and argue. You and Tara can argue, but like, that's the space that you do it in. And then you don't have to cause you and Tara are married. So there needs to be like work time and actual, family time. And that's your work time. And that means we have to have hard conversations in the middle of Traction. But I've joked before and told them like my husband figured this out, started reading the book, and now we Traction things in our marriage. So it's wonderful.
That was really unexpected for me. Well, number one, going back to the Tara and I thing, it's been great for our marriage because at the dinner table at night, if work bleeds into dinner, which we kind of create a sacred space for dinner, we have dinner together like every night, basically, and we always have. And when work comes up, it's like, oh man, like I'm not in that space right now. Like I just have dealt with it all day long. Yeah, we've got issues. Yeah, there's always something that needs to be done. And if it always needs to be done and it's always open-ended, or even if it has like a place on a to-do list, like it drove me nuts because I sort of need to know where things stand at any moment. That's my piece. Like if we have projects for Dream Camp or Sleep Summit, or we have clients that we're working on stuff with, I'm like, where are we with that? Well, it has a home, and it also has a place and space that we can talk about it. And I know it's not going to go on too long. Like it's going to be every Tuesday at 10 a.m. That's when we're going to talk about it. So Tara and I can like put that stuff aside, and we can be like, hey, let's put it on our issues list. And that's it. It goes on the issues list, and we know we're going to tackle it. So it really creates a safer space in terms of like having just a marriage as opposed to being business partners all the time. It's been great.
Yes.
And
I love it.
And also, I just have to say, I did not expect when Jonathan went into the tree stand to go deer hunting, he was reading the traction book, and he comes back and he tells you, I want to traction our children.
And we did. I mean, so he and I went to dinner like a week later, and he's like, we need to have like a standing, date night, because we are terrible at that. Our children, just for those of you that don't know me, I have 8-year-old twins, and then I have a 4-year-old. So we're just in that season of life. And he's like, I want to create a picture of a Woods child. Like when they're 18 or 21, like what are the skills that we want them to have accomplished? Like what are our long-term issues? What are our short-term? Like what do they need to accomplish in this next year? What things do we need to be doing to ensure that we achieve the short-term and the long-term goals? And so we call it our portrait of a Woods child. That's what it is.
I think it's brilliant. What a unique and clever application of a business principle. But you're right. Like if you're raising a kid, like, are we ahead or behind with the way that we would hope this person to turn out? Otherwise, you're just leaving it up to chance. Like, and how do you know? How do you measure it? How do you track that progress? How do you put a vision together for what you want that kid to turn out like? Being a positive, productive member of society that hopefully is compassionate and has emotional IQ and EQ and all that fun stuff.
Well, and we were able to make it really granular. Like, how do we, we want them to pass 3rd grade? So what do we need to do to help make sure they get their schoolwork done? All the way into bigger things, like how do we develop a work ethic out of our kids? Like, what is the expectation? What do those milestones look like that we can say, hey, we've at least taught you what it is to like have a work ethic? For Amelia, for example, he's like, she will not get behind the wheel of a car until she knows how to change a tire, until she knows how to change her own oil. Whether she does it again ever after that time she learns it is neither here nor there. The fact is she will have been taught, and there will have been an opportunity because we made sure for our short-term and long-term goals that it was on our list.
By the way, you said in the very beginning of that little monologue, you go, we want our children to pass 3rd grade. Yeah. And then you kept going, and I was like, only 3rd grade, huh?
Only 3rd grade. No, that was my short-term goal. My short-term goal for this year was pass 3rd grade. Long-term, be a contributing member of society.
Yeah, no, I got you. It was just funny the way you said it. I was like, only 3rd grade. I was like, well, hey, some people have really big goals for their kids, and other people, it's like Tara's grandpa, Buddy Venturella, he only went to 8th grade, and that was it. And he went off to the Navy.
I just need my kids to learn to read. I've told them before, I'm like, if you can learn to read, you can do anything, which I stand by. I think that is true. So just learn to read, and everything else will fall
How are they doing
place.
on the reading front? Are they doing okay?
Oh, yes. I mean, Henry's so far. Like, my problem with Henry now is he can read very well. We have to make sure the content is appropriate. Because, the more mature stuff that you read, you get into content that you're just not ready for them to have. Amelia, my daughter, has a learning disability. And so getting her to read has been an adventure. But she can, and she's on grade level, and we are pumped. So.
That's amazing. And then Finley,
Yes.
Is he 5 now?
He will be 5 in May. He believes in his soul that he is older than that, but he is not. He will start kindergarten in August. Big deal.
Wow, that's amazing. So can he? He can do a little bit of reading then, like some reading at that age, or no?
I mean, no, not really. I mean, I'm sure if I was a better mom, I would have started on that. But we're still like maneuvering under like capital letter, lowercase letter, and matching the two of them up. So what does an uppercase A look like and a lowercase a? Do you know that they're both A's? That's the stage we're in.
And he's like, yo, A.
100% he is.
Tell everybody what he said the other day whenever he smelled something like very pleasing.
Oh. So he is an old soul. And I rarely shower in the evenings, but for whatever reason, it was like a Saturday night, and I had showered and I came to the table, wet hair and whatnot. And Finley's sitting there and he goes, what smells so beautiful? And we all like looked at him and he goes, it's you, Mom. You smell so beautiful. That is my 4-year-old, the charmer. I was like, thank you, baby. That's so wonderful. But he's my empathetic one too. He will come to me and he'll be like, how are you feeling? do you feel okay? Are you tired? So he's going to be a good
He's
one.
got a lot of compassion for a
He
4-year-old. Most of the time
does.
it's like, running a race car over your forehead while
I
they're,
know.
eating snacks
No,
off your
he'll
shirt.
come and he'll grab my face and he'll be like, "How are you feeling, Mom?" And I'm like, "I'm good. Thanks, babe." I'm telling you, he's going to be a winner.
Well, it sounds like traction is working already.
I'm hopeful. We're seeing good things, good fruit.
Well, you are an amazing mom and
Thanks.
wife to Jonathan and family member, and you've been the best mom to the fam that we could have ever hoped for. And I'm so grateful for you. Tara and I love you. So many people in the fam have met you and love you and ask about you all the time. And we're going to miss you so much. And I'm going to say we're going to miss you. We live in the same town. So like, we're still going to be hanging out. Like I still get the benefit of Adrienne Woods and the friendship and the just being together. But I'm also going to say that we are trying to angle to get you back to hang out with us at least and do some stuff at Sleep Summit 2025. So
I'm
I know
here.
I'm putting you on the spot, but you tell your fancy attorney friends that we need you for a couple of days.
I am all for that. And I want to make sure that everybody understands as they're listening to this. This has been a difficult decision only because I'm happy and I wasn't looking for this. Like this was something this guy, the firm I should say that I'm going to work for had approached me about this before. And I'm like, no, thanks. I'm not really interested. We had another case against each other and then they were like, hey, let's just go to lunch. And so I'm like, what's a free lunch? Like, why not? And so I went and got the free lunch and it was just this opportunity that presented itself. And I remember talking to my husband, I'm like, I don't know what to do because I'm so happy doing what I'm doing. And I think my husband in all of his wisdom was like, well, this isn't a decision then that you need to make and then tell Mark and Tara. This is the decision that the three of you need to make together because you're a fam amongst yourself. And so when he gave me that just sort of like assurance of like, that's true. This is not a typical working relationship where I just sort of sit you both down and let you know the decision that I made. It's hey, this is the opportunity. What do you think? And I love the advice that I talked to them separately. I called Mark and I was like, I need to talk to you as my boss and not as Tara's husband. And I will talk to Tara later. And he was like, if it's not a hell yes, then you need to figure out what is inhibiting it from being a hell yes. And I loved that because it's like, if it's not an easy yes, then it's a no. And it was an easy yes, save this beautiful relationship and this thing that we have created. And so I'm excited for it. I mean, there's definitely benefits for me just in a skill set that I get to grow in. I've continued to practice law this whole time, but it'll be in a greater magnitude over here, just for my long-term goals. But yes, I told him, I said, if y'all ever get to the point where you want a general counsel or whatever else, I said, please make me your first call. And I said, that also doesn't mean that I can't come hang out at Sleep Summit. It just means I won't be, knocking on people's email doors being like, I really need you to get me this document like yesterday.
Well, I remember when we talked too that I told you I think I would have been concerned if you had left the legal profession and now you were coming back to it.
Mm-hmm.
But you have, maintained a practice the entire time I've known you. You've done legal work for the fam, you've helped us with contracts and, trusts type stuff and, everything around, trying to get your will together but you've been doing that for other folks as well and in various different capacities. And I'm like, this is not something where she's like, oh, it's, the grass is greener on the other side, so I'm going to go and do that. It was like, you've maintained your legal practice the whole time and you love it, you enjoy it. And, now that the kids are kind of getting of that age too, where, they're all going to be in school and even the youngest one's going to be in kindergarten this next year. It's like, all right, it's another season, another chapter, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be so great. And hey, I'm just saying, I might just start doing some legal stuff and building that part of our business. I don't know why, just so I can get you back.
Oh, I'm 100% here for it. And to your point, we talked to a lot of retailers and, you're always encouraging, like, what's your 5-year plan? What's your 10-year plan? And that's sort of the vein that we looked through just with the dynamics here in Northwest Arkansas. And like, what do I want to be? I'm 37. In 10 years, when I'm 47, what have I done to further my career, in the legal world? Yes, I had a part-time firm. I created the firm that I wanted, which was the firm that, like, if I wanted to take off on a Thursday to go with my kids on a field trip, I could. And I'm still going to have that flexibility there. But whereas I was doing work for the fam and doing legal work, now I'm only going to be doing legal work. And so hopefully it will prove to be just as sweet.
Well, I'm sure it will. And we're so proud of you. And your fam's got your back and we always will. And we're just so thankful for everything you've done for us, and just that we get to be your friend, because you're an amazing human being, and we love you so much. And I'm going to warn everybody, like, I'm going to try to not introduce any new programs, number one. But we've already talked about what happens when I get behind the scenes and start punching buttons. So if things seem a little bit wacky after Adrienne stops taking care of it, just know that I'm the issue. Be gentle with me. Be gentle.
No, Mark is more of a perfectionist than I am. So therefore it will probably only excel after I leave.
Well, I'll be looking at everything for efficiencies.
Yes.
That's one of my favorite things to do. I'm like, how do we make it better? How do we make it more efficient? How do we streamline it? Well, hey, of course, we'll keep everybody in the fam posted as you move along and go along, and we'll see you back at Sleep Summit 2025, which is October 14th through 17th.
Yes.
Because it's right here in our backyard in Bentonville,
Arkansas.
And,
yes.
Bentonville, Arkansas. And thank you for always being the amazing connector for us here as well. By the way, just this morning, we had the person that did your kitchen here to help us do a refresh on our kitchen. You continue to be the unofficial mayor of Northwest Arkansas for me.
I love it. I love that. I will gladly take up that role. And the girl who is doing their kitchen and did mine is awesome. She's
amazing. Alicia, shout out to you. She knows I have a podcast studio, because they're going to like redesign my office, I think, as well. So.
Oh, neat. She's going to do an amazing job. I told her, I said, I need you to come back out and create me a set of doors for a cabinet that I had visions of being an open faced cabinet. And now I've decided I just need doors to close the mess. So she's wonderful.
There's stuff everywhere. I just need doors.
I just need doors to close it. I had these visions of it being beautiful, but it just needs doors.
Totally understood. Yeah. Sometimes you got to bless this mess and hide it.
Yes. 100%. So I just want to say to everybody, just if this is sort of my last opportunity to give everybody this shout out, I just greatly appreciate everybody just like welcoming. I'll probably cry about it. Just bringing me into this wonderful industry. I had heard from everybody that I've had the opportunity to work with. They say, like, once you come in, you don't leave. And I don't like to see it as leaving. I'm just sort of expanding my skill set, and hopefully it can help serve some of you better, just in a different role. But I'm very, very grateful for the last 5 years that y'all just trusted me. Y'all were willing to grow me, and I'm thankful for the relationships that I've made. And I just want everyone to know that. So thanks, Mark and Tara, and thank you to everyone just for your love.
Well, we do love you the most, and we'll miss you, and Godspeed, and people on the other side that get to be a part of your world now in that professional capacity are the luckiest people on the planet.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna go and stop the podcast here before I actually start crying, because I feel it coming on, and I don't think I've done that yet on the show. So let's. I'm gonna try to keep my streak alive.
Sounds good. I'll cry enough.
All right, everybody. Be sure to give Adrienne a shout out on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, and share this episode with a friend or a family member that you think would enjoy hearing about our journey over the past 5 years and some of the crazy stuff we've done. Wait, do you think we got to the strangest part about working with me? Because I kind of promised that in the tease.
I know, but now I'm trying to think, like, the strangest part of working with you. Oh.
You can substitute most frustrating, most awesome.
No, so I will say this. I will say this because I've had the opportunities to fill out stuff for Mark. So in terms of Mark as a boss, you will not find someone who is more willing to encourage you and also like raise you up in the areas that you want to be raised up in, which is why it was so easy to have this conversation, because he and I have had conversations and touch points the whole way. What do you want to do? How can we move you into a place that, like, really, you feel that you're going to thrive in? A lot of bosses just don't do that. They're just like, well, this is just your job. So, like, you're going to have to do it and do it well. Mark really seeks to figure out, you're a good people manager in that way. Hardest thing probably is you're a perfectionist. And for another perfectionist, in the beginning, I had to figure out, like, nothing I could do was like perfect and right. I was like, he always wants to change something. He always wants to change something. And I had to finally realize, like, that's just who you are. Like, it's not that I did a bad job, or maybe I did, but even if I had done an exceptional job, you were going to change something. So that was probably the hardest. And then the platforms thing, but we made a good joke out of that.
Yeah, guilty as charged on all fronts, and working on it, definitely working on it, because you're right. I have sometimes I have such a firm vision in my head, and I'm like,
Yes.
okay, does it really matter that much?
No, but the funny thing is, I think
Look,
you're like on the Enneagram, you're a 3. I have 3 tendencies, and so I get it. Sometimes I'm like, this is just the way I want it. And it doesn't mean what you did was wrong or bad. I just want it this way. And moving on.
well, I've wanted it this way for the past 5 years, and it's been great. And this way is working with Adrienne Woods and enjoying every minute of it. Y'all, thank you so much for you supporting Adrienne, just like she said, and being here, being part of the fam. Share this out. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter at thefam.com, and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Adrienne, one last time. Yo, Adrienne. High five.
Bye.